of Lumen Art Projects, which is the parent of the Lumen Prize for Art and Technology. Tonight, it's my pleasure to be making a few remarks about this astonishing exhibition, and I'll be followed by remarks from Diana Ayton-Shenker, director of Leonardo. Following Diana, one of our co-producers, DC Spensley, will be hosting a private tour of the exhibition itself, and there will, of course, be plenty of time for questions. So it should be a fun hour. Please hang on. For those of you that don't know us, the Lumen Prize celebrates the very best art created with technology through a global juried competition. Since its launch in 2012, Lumen has awarded more than $80,000 in prize money and created opportunities for artists around the world who engage with technology. The Lumen Art Projects is a not-for-profit based in the beautiful Brecon Beacons in Wales, where I'm speaking from today. We curate exhibitions, commissions, and events for venues and cultural institutions, as well as public spaces globally, leveraging our community of artists who've been longlisted, shortlisted, or won the Lumen Prize Awards. So normally, remember normally, when we have winners, we have an event and we have an exhibition. 2020 was one of those different kind of years. But very happily, we found a partnership with Leonardo that allowed us to achieve a dream, a long-held dream, to create a real exhibition, a 3D exhibition virtually. And what you're about to witness tonight is a kind of love fest of these partners who came together and created it. So let me name check these people who did it all. Leonardo, that's Danielle Siembieda, who's behind the scenes here running the tech. Her partners in crime, DC Spensley and Gustavo Rincon, who were the co-producers of this incredible exhibition. And Diana Ayton-Shenker, the director of Leonardo, who picked up the email and made the call and made it all happen. So great honor to be with you guys. And I just wanted you who are with us tonight to know that we are a partnership and this has all been created as a group. Oh, I nearly left out my partner in crime, Addis, who worked with DC, Danielle, and Gustavo to create this and was the liaison with our 9 incredible award winners who you'll be able to enjoy when the tour begins. The exhibition will be open throughout 2021. It's not going anywhere. So we hope today will be the first of many visits, giving you the opportunity to engage and dive deeper into these exceptional works. So today I'm going to have just a few minutes to discuss some questions that Diana and I agreed are close to our hearts. How does the intersection of art and science and technology drive social change? What impact do virtual exhibitions provide in a global context for technology, society, and humanity in the art world? Having a new art world, and what will the legacy of this kind of exhibition be for the art world? Will the virtual exhibition concepts survive and thrive in the post-pandemic world? In the case of our 9 winners showcased in this exhibition, each one creates connections and inspires the viewer through the uniquely participatory aspect of this kind of art, I feel, illustrating untold stories, stirring empathy, and provoking our sense of connectedness. It stirs innovation, and it creates a willingness to act for and with others. I don't have time to highlight every one of these stories, but as you go through the exhibition, you know exactly what I mean. I would like to spend just a few minutes highlighting the one piece that I think perhaps exemplifies the connection between this kind of art and the movement for social change, the best, and that's Julieta Gil's Nuestra, I'm gonna make a mess of the Spanish, Nuestra Victoria, I did it, Our Victory, a series of images which won the Lumen Prize Gold Award. And it's basically the story of a protest the summer of 2019, hours after serving as the site of protests focused on systemic violence against women. the monument was boarded up by the Mexican government in an attempt to cover the graffiti and art and signs that had been put on by the protest movement, and quickly began working on restoring the work. Julia Tagil, the artist, was secretly spirited behind those boards by a group of local feminists and had the courage to document the work and then take that work home and use digital tools to create a 3D digital archive of all the graffiti and signs on the monument with the intention of preserving it for posterity. Her palette included drone footage and photogrammetry, which is a process in which a large number of photographs can be put together to create a 3D model. The intention was not to create a perfect replica, but to allow the materiality of this digital vision to show through and reveal new layers of information and meaning. What are monuments for, and what messages are they conveying? People all over the world are trying to address this question in the wake of the Black Lives Matter movement and other important forces for change. Without intentionally trying to have an answer, Nuestra Victoria, our victory, adds itself to this important discussion. The development of political content or engaged art was never my goal when I founded the prize in 2012. I was hoping to shine a light on the genre of art which I felt had been unfairly neglected by the art community. It's fair today, the art community is very interested in art that engage with science and technology, and a large part of that connection, I feel, started in 2016 when we saw the election of Trump and the rise of many populist governments around the world. The result has been a cascade of winning works on politics, environment, institutional racism, feminism, and much more to the Lumen Prize. And the Lumen Prize jury panel has responded by awarding many, many awards to these works over the years. Where do we go from here? This kind of work knows no limits. Those who create with technology know no limits. Each year we see a range of work inspired by the latest tech tools and the social justice issues that we all care about so deeply. And this has been reflected in a gradual development of our awards program over the last 4 years, and leads me to my last little comment, which is we're having a new award this year. The call for entries opens on the 15th of February, and we'll be introducing a Mind Future Award in partnership with the Mind Future Foundation, which will celebrate the excellence in creation of art that engages audiences in a dialogue about the personal, cultural, and social significance of artificial intelligence and robotics. They'll be looking for artists who explore the ethical dimensions that emerge from this engagement, entanglement really, between humans and these technologies. I'm really excited about it. And like I said, this kind of art knows no limits, so who knows where that award's going to lead to. As to the question of whether the virtual exhibition will survive in the future, I am optimistic. There are many people in the world that don't enjoy the kind of Wi-Fi and computers that we all enjoy. And I think that institutions will see these kinds of exhibitions as a way of outreach and reaching more audiences and new ways of exploring and displaying art, cutting the cost of transportation and a greener way to show art. As a result, I'm optimistic about the future of this genre, which I feel is really just getting started. So very excited to be here at the beginning. It's now my incredible pleasure to hand over to Diana and ask her to carry on with our program.
Well, thank you so much, Carla, for sharing those insights, which I appreciate and I share. And in that light, I'll try and be brief in adding a few of my own to echo yours. But first, I want to also thank and welcome everyone who's here. I love seeing our VIP friends, including those whom Carla mentioned, our colleagues, Danielle and Jack, the co-producers of the exhibit, DC and Gustavo. And although I'm not sure if I see any present here, all of the winning artists whose work is present and we'll get to spend some time enjoying. And on behalf of Leonardo, I want to thank our dear friends and leaders and board members whom I see on this Zoom as well. As the CEO of Leonardo, it's my pleasure to serve this community in what we are leading and listening and learning to grow as a global creative think tank. And this is exactly the kind of partnership and engagement that we feel moves the impact of art, science, technology. In addition to our publications and programs, which reach over 500,000 people in over 75 countries today, and our signature partnerships with MIT Press and Arizona State University, we are constantly challenging ourselves to explore and accommodate what opportunities might arise or we might want to create, such as this partnership and the exhibition we're going to be exploring. So in looking at the impact of this nexus of art, science, technology, I think Carla and I were struck by the questions that surround our impact in three regards. Our impact for social change, our impact for global access in the art world, and our impact for the future. So I want to just spend a moment on each of those, and then we'll let our experience of the art have its own impact. In terms of how art, science, technology drives social change, I suppose we don't even need to ask, and yet I'm going to ask, why we should even be considering that we make a difference. Is it enough just to be inventive and creative? Well, I think that it is important, but I think that it's incomplete. And our real innovation will happen when we're not only inventive and creative, but we are impactful. We truly are making a difference. And if ever there was a time when we know we need to make a difference in our world, when our world is calling for change, and ready or not, change is happening at an accelerated pace, intensified by the global pandemic of COVID-19 and the syndemic, the synchronized crises of social injustice, political upheaval, and climate crisis. This is an extraordinary time, and it calls for extraordinary vision. That is the role that artists, scientists, technologists, that hybrid creatives play in our work and in our lives and in our world. We drive social change at the nexus of art, science, technology, because we inspire and we instigate and we innovate. So the selected winners of this Lumen Prize, I think, exemplify these drivers of social change, some explicitly, such as Julieta's work that Carla mentioned with Nuestra Victoria, and looking at some of the issues truly of our time and of our moment, triggered by, in this case, the global response to the uprising of Black Lives Matter, and integrating novel uses of technology in truly beautiful experimental ways, or less explicit attempts to address issues through the other works that you'll see that may be less overtly political, and yet I believe are socially impactful, as is all of our work today. Because the greatest defense and protection of our freedom is its exercise. And this is our exercise of freedom, making this creative work. We make a difference through our innovation. We make a difference in this kind of work with collaboration, demonstrating that we need to be working together and crossing lines, crossing barriers. We make a difference to drive social change by creating compelling communication connecting with people at a level that doesn't just inform, but moves us at that gut level of being transformed. We make a difference for social change through this nexus of art, science, technology by providing a critique of our time, by provoking, by asking unasked questions, and by providing the experience of contemplation, of reflection, of introspection. In terms of our impact on global change in the art world, there's both a reactive moment and a proactive element that we are seeding now that is fueled by this digital platform to exhibit and experience art. The reactive response to our time is, well, how do we do all this online? How do we just do online versions of what we've done? That's the kind of low-hanging fruit that we needed to adapt and adopt quickly so we could pivot and experience the art that was traditionally, or as Carla said, normally experienced in conventional formats. But the I think richer fruit that perhaps is still hanging or yet to blossom and come forth from our trees is not just how do we go online, how do we use technology to do this online, but how do we use technology to reimagine our experience of art with science? How do we use this moment to reimagine how we access and share and show and create and iterate and reiterate our hybrid creative experience? And I think that we seed that with this digital exhibition of the Lumen Prize winners and our exploration of New Art City that Gustavo and DC have produced. So in terms then finally of our impact for the future, this post-pandemic legacy, I would forecast that we are moving towards a hybrid integration of our digital and analog in-person experience. I don't think that we are going to dispense with one or the other. I think we're going to deepen our appreciation of both through this integration. So right now, everything has been as much as possible digitized. I think that when we are able to reconnect personally, interpersonally, there will be this kind of craving of contact that surges interpersonal, place-based experience of art, including art technology. But I also think that there will be a lasting, not only appreciation of what the digital opens up, but a relaxation of the barriers. We've learned how breaking down these barriers by increasing this access can open portals to new partnerships and new creativity and new ways of looking at the world, new ways of imagining our future. And I don't think we're going to want to let that go. When we re-embrace each other, I think we're going to bring this evolution of digital art and technology with us. So I can imagine us moving towards a kind of integration as a legacy for the post-pandemic world. So we're going to invite all of us to be co-creators in imagining what that world is as we go forward, and begin through an exploration of the world of new art world that our colleagues and co-producers DC Spensley and Gustavo Rincon will talk us through. Now, we have the incredible opportunity of inviting each of you to return again and again to the in-world experience that they've worked very hard to optimize as a truly mind-bending, mind-blowing environment. it's just gorgeous to experience being in these digital exhibitions, these pavilions, this new way of experiencing art technology. That said, so that we could all be together, we're going to begin with an exploration on our compromised format of Zoom, with the caveat of potential Zoom lags, and the understanding that we're resilient and resourceful and able to live with these sometimes imperfect experiences, knowing that we can return on our own time, as I urge you to do, and have that optimal experience. So my understanding is that DC will be our tour guide and talking us through what we will be seeing as we navigate, and Gustavo will be our chat master and able to respond to questions in the chat as it comes up. And I want to thank you all for being here, for being connected and creative and part of this journey of creating a better world. With that, I'll pass it over to DC.
Hi, everybody. It's a shame that we won't be able to hear Gustavo voice. He has a lot of good things to say. I'm delighted to work with these organizations and to collaborate with Gustavo on this project. And thank you all for being here. I'm going to share the screen right now, and bear with me. There we go. Okay. So the first thing you see when you go to the URL leonardo.lumenprize.com is you see a 2D website. And Diana mentioned many times, it's funny, in my notes, I had written down a hybrid many times here. And Diana mentioned a lot about that. This is a hybrid between a two-dimensional website and a three-dimensional website. It's a hybrid between two organizations. It's a hybrid between documentation and exhibition. It just goes on and on. The first thing you see when you look at this is the join our mailing list. So you guys are all probably already on the mailing list here, so I'll skip that part. And then we're looking at a 2D website here that's familiar for most people. On the left-hand side, you have the obligatory list of names, just like you would in any gallery or museum situation. And then on the right-hand side, in the right-hand pane, as we call it, we'll have thumbnails. The first for the Lumen Prize lobby, and then one for each of the artists that is featured in this. There are 9 artists in this, and this is very much about them. We kept this in mind the whole time. It is about these artists and sharing their work in this format, somewhere between exhibition and documentation. So I'm going to go to the Lumen Prize lobby right now. And the lobby is our central nexus. It is in itself a user interface, and we endeavored to make sure that nobody ever got lost in this situation. So if you look at this black screen, now we're not quite in the lobby yet, but you see this black screen, you have some hints on how to navigate. Gamers will know that you use the WASD keys to do that. And you can also use the arrow keys, and there's some other hints here. I would recommend that you turn your volume down just a little bit and have your system sound on. You also have another user interface here too that allows you to, this green patch tells you you're in the lobby here presently. And the rest of these are the artists that you can visit, these pavilions. So, and to get into the lobby, drop into the lobby, just click in this black area right here. As a matter of fact, let me, before we do that, just to note, if you're in world and you would like to chat, here's a chat function on the bottom here. But if you click on this, you can change your username so people can identify you inside. Easily done. And here I am. And it says who I am when I'm chatting. So click on the black background here, and you will drop into the experience. And the first thing you'll notice is probably the sound, and these hexagonal portals. And if we go push forward, I'm pressing the W key right now to move forward. And you get a little closer, and you use your mouse or your trackpad to kind of bend down and take a look at this. This is a little bit. These are tips, more tips on how to enjoy the experience. Um, right here we have this. We call this the popsicle or the lollipop, and this is yet another way to navigate in world. Um, and then here's some more tips. These are a little bit more advanced tips here. So we're not going to go to every pavilion today. We're going to save some of those for you for your personal experience. But the first one we're going to go to is Liliana Farber, and let's take a look. And these are we'll call these Hex Gates. And where is Liliana Farber? There we go. And if you walk through, if you navigate through one of these Hex Gates, it will transport you into that pavilion. Now, what we did was separate each of the pavilions to make sure these are all separate rooms, to make sure that we had a good optimization and that our user experience was not laggy, unlike what you might see going through the Zoom. Once again, we've reiterated the popsicle and the tips and tricks on this side. And we have if you walk up this ramp, walking meaning pressing the W key to move forward, you'll notice these pavilions we've used a hexagonal motif for a couple of different reasons. Number one, because hexagons have more wall space than squares do, and also it's an interesting design motif as well. You'll notice now to the left here. Let me back out just a little bit here. We have two sections here. We have the About the Artist section, and then we have the Artwork section. So we'll go to the About the Artist section where we just were. And you'll notice as I get closer here, and maybe my sound is off, I'm not sure. I'm not going to troubleshoot that right now in your time. But you'll notice when you're in world, have your sound on, the closer you get to a video, and these are videos commissioned by the Lumen Prize on each one of these artists. Now, this is them telling you about their practice. And as you get closer, the sound increases. And the sound is about proximity. And that's important because there's a lot of video in this, a lot of sound. And you wouldn't want spill from one interesting video to another. So, and that's just a factor of the platform we're on. And right here, what we have in these kind of biographical areas is articles published in Leonardo about each of these artists. These are many storied artists, and we've got a link to those articles here. You can read them in this space. And here's another one. And the artist's work statement is also here. And this works really nicely. You can actually read this on the screen here. So we'll exit this area and we'll go into the artwork area, see the artwork. And in this situation, we're treading the line between documentation and exhibition. And Liliana's work is born digital. So there is the potential for more of an exhibition is here. And these that we're walking through here are pages from ship's captains from their logs that refer to the two islands that they've discovered. And what Liliana's done, her project is to, and you'll notice this is hung kind of with a real world museum convention. And we've made some adjustments in the size of things to work better in the digital format than. But each of these are islands that Liliana has used a Google Earth algorithm to generate. Now, these islands don't exist in physical form, except for the fact that Liliana has printed these islands. But she does have stories and variations on these islands that are fascinating. So we'll walk out this way again. And you see what I mean about the hexagonal motif allows us to show a lot of work and make it easily accessible to somebody traveling through a this kind of digital presentation. Let me just show you something here. You can walk through the walls in this. There's no barrier actually, except for the graphic barrier. And if you do, and you get lost, you'll see this familiar hex gate here. And you can walk through that to get back to the lobby. Now, I won't take you back to the lobby every time here, but just wanted to show that little escape hatch. And we're going to drop back down into the lobby again, and we'll employ yet another way to navigate to our next artist, which is the Gold Award winner, Julieta Gill. And if you mouse up, you can see a little hand appears here. You click on Julieta Gill, and that'll take us to the Julieta Gill exhibition. And then you click on the black background and you'll drop into this experience. Now, we worked with the producers of this platform, who were called New Art City, a young group here in the Bay Area. And a lot of the technology, including this in-world navigation, didn't exist. And that's another hybrid. It was a hybrid relationship between the Lumen Leonardo hybrid and the working with New Art City to become part of their development milestones. We kind of pushed their development and worked in collaboration with them to make the things happen that you see here. We're going to skip the biographical section this time and just go straight into Julieta's work. And as Carla mentioned, this is a fascinating intervention, feminist intervention into a colonial monument. And you'll notice we have pictures, and we've got this rotating video of the monument that you can actually get inside and see some of the voices of the people intervening in this. But there's also another side to this that is much higher bandwidth. Where is it? There we go. And normally it's easier to navigate around here. I'm having significant performance lag because of the transfer into Zoom. But you click on this, it's a visit the high bandwidth version. And now this is what Carla was talking about, the photogrammetry work, which gives another interesting dimension. You can see that this monument has been realized in 3D. And the voices of the interventionists immortalized by Julieta. Once again, you can get inside these things, which I find really interesting. Gorgeous aesthetically, meaningful metaphorically. And once again, and to get back to Julieta, the original room, we could do this. Why don't we do that? We'll go back there. And next on our tour, we're going to go visit Soren Krag, who is the Nordic winner. And I'm going to use this user interface here, and just click on Soren Krag. We're going to drop into the Soren Krag exhibit. And
DC?
there are some conventions that we're invoking here. We've tried to make people feel once they learn the user interface heuristically and understand where things are, it's second nature now to go from one pavilion to another. And this show is called 2000 Flowers, 2000 Fleurs. Um, and the resulting artwork, I think, in this case, was a tapestry, but this was born digital, and I think this is the video of all of the digital iterations that were fed in this form to a Jacquard loom, and the Jacquard loom here is this industrial-looking device which produced the tapestry, and which you can actually get inside. It's almost like getting inside a Jacquard loom here. Very simple thing. Once again, a feature of the platform. And let's look at the stitches on this. And because I really like the way that this platform has enough resolution to show um, um, some detail on this. So we'll exit here, and this time we'll use the popsicle to visit our last but not least artist here. And don't forget to come back.
DC,
Yeah.
can when you go to the next exhibition, can you try to line up a nice front view? We had one of the questions in the chat. How do you line up and get like a nice front view, and how do you get a little information?
You bet. Okay. I'll click on Casey Reese and Jan St. Werner, and I'll try to get a nice and maybe we're going for a screenshot here, right? Is that we might want a front view?
The issue was mostly head height, and then how do you kind of get an equivalent, experience in real space?
Well, the thing is that this being a hybrid space, we are using somewhat of a walking analogy here, but I have a mouse, okay? You can do this on a trackpad, but you can it's almost like leaning up and down, looking up and down. And one of the things that we've experienced, that my experience in virtual worlds, and I've been making exhibitions in virtual worlds since about 2006, is that things need to be a lot bigger in virtual worlds to mimic in many ways the an experience, a traveling experience, and a walking around a museum experience. So at this point, your head height from an architectural standpoint, Gustavo and I, Gustavo actually understands the real world conventions and indicated that the head height is right around 6 feet. In this case, we settled for about 10 feet because of the factors here inside the virtual world. So we're entering into the Casey Reese exhibition here. We've got some conventions. Casey Reese we used as a model for viewing rooms. His specifications were very precise. So we, from doing business with museums, and so what we did is just carry that forward in all of the viewing rooms that you'll see during this exhibition. You'll notice that on the wall next to it is a information symbol, and on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, you'll see when you roll over things in this, rolling over meaning putting your cursor onto things in this experience, it gives you a little bit of information here. And now I'm going to click on one of these things, and we'll see, and that'll give you just a window with the video. And each media is a little bit different, and it tells you a little bit more information. It might be easier for some people to click on it and see the video in this fashion. So there's a lot of options here. Once again, the videos are the audio for the videos is about proximity. So we put these footprints in the space so you can know the optimal space to stand and get that that audio experience. Um, and I'm going to back out of this. And Casey Reese and Jan St. Werner have created 3 new videos um, for the exhibition, and we've created these viewing rooms to do that. So another option. Let's go back to the click on the popsicle here and meet back in the lobby here, as this is, and trying to get a balance between a long and tired tour and a interesting pithy tour. So here we are back in the lobby, the Lumen Prize lobby, and it's interesting. Another hybrid is that this is part exhibition, but it's also an exhibition catalog, and I think that's one of the innovations here that we've realized that this is actually a 3D web-driven exhibition catalog in many respects. So I'm going to hand this over to who's uh, Gustavo, do you want to weigh in, just add a little bit to this, because I've been talking the whole time.
Sure. I just wanted to say that thank you, everyone, Diana, Carla, Danielle, DC, and Jack. Briefly, this was a 3-month design process, and DC and I engaged in much art history, design history, virtual reality, computer science. It was a collaboration to work with the platform, New Art City, and DC did a lot of discussion back and forth to evolve the platform. So a lot of what you see was custom to this exhibition, which is not a position that artists usually have if they're not coders or computer scientists or programmers. So this was one of the innovations, and I thank DC for his work and his experience in his art practice. I come to this through as a researcher through the Media Arts and Technology program, and a lot of my work with virtual world making with Dr. Joanne Couture-Marin and Marcos Novak. So I'm looking at this as a researcher and how do we inhabit these spaces? So DC and I spent probably hundreds and hundreds of hours looking at this, but sometimes I actually put the video on my phone. I actually put it on my tablet. I put it on my TV, and I just lived with it. And I think that to me is the power of this type of exhibition. We can live with the work. We can really think about what the implications are. And DC and I talked about spending time in our own lives in museums for the hours and hours and days that you would go back. So a lot of this was very well crafted, and to have the facility that you could always have mastery, and you can come back and think about how all this works. So I think DC can speak to more about the kind of the mind mapping and geography, but the works were beautifully inspiring. So
Oh yeah,
that's
well,
kind
it's
of
good.
how I would say it.
It's great to have excellent artists to work with, and the coordination by Jack. He interfaced with the artists, so we did not have to herd the cats, and also had a lot to do with. We had to bounce ideas off of Jack and get his wisdom on everything, as well as and Danielle as well. And here's the thing: there are a lot of these platforms popping up. Okay, and we evaluated most of the common ones at this point, and decided on this one for a lot of reasons, because this one was not quite formed, and we had the opportunity to collaborate with the developers, because there's some Google or whatever Google hubs or whatever that is quite a bit more developed. It's not as raw as this. But we wouldn't have had this opportunity to create a hybrid and actually push the developers and in the direction that I think was good for everybody. It was a win-win for us.
DC, one thing that I wanted to make sure of is that we thought about this as research. So from beginning to end, we looked at how to develop functionality, how to be immersed in the space, how to even engage the work digitally, physically, interviewing the artists, and then going back and having dialogue with the team. And I think that as a kind of as a research team, we ended up now engaging everyone else and going, how does this go from research to product? And I think that's something to really think about, is that we wanted this to engage the most people, to democratize this type of knowledge.
I want to jump in on that note, actually, because that question of how do we engage the most, from people viewing, from the artists creating, from scientists and technologists collaborating, is so fundamental to Lumen and Leonardo and those who will be intrigued or provoked by this exhibit. One of the comments that, and I want to thank everyone for participating in the comments, which were so rich, was that this really got me thinking. From Roger Molina, and that was great to hear. I think that's sort of the point. Not this is the we've finished creating the gold standard and now it's done. We're just getting started, and so in that process, if this is getting us thinking, how do we act on and build on those ideas to go out to the world that we're hoping to reach and inspire. I know there were so many questions and also ideas and comments that came up in the chat that some of which have been responded to, but I just wanted to make sure that we had time to hear from the participants here in case anyone wanted to post something or share a thought with the group as a whole. I can't see anyone. So you'll have to unmute yourself and raise hand or put a note in chat.
I think we had a couple additional questions. I think Ben had some questions about how to also see some of the works up close. I think some rooms have very obvious prompts to that, but then others don't. And so DC, can you respond to some of that? And then Ben, if we didn't answer that question in what you're looking for, also please feel free.
I think Ben's question was framed around suggesting that another platform had some features that that this one might lack, and that's probably true. Every platform has a different emphasis on things, and I think what Ben was speaking with him about in particular was being able to click on images in Liliana Farber's exhibit and to make a much larger picture to look at. I think in this situation, you can click on it. You don't see a larger picture, but you'll see a picture that's not mediated by moving around. But I think to get a little closer to it, to walk up closer would be my suggestion on how to get closer to the images. These are all the images here that you see. Everything is 72 dpi, so you're not going to be able to dive into it like you would in the physical world. But the thing is, I'm always interested in new platforms. I've worked in probably a dozen platforms. Second Life, Open Sim, Unity, Hello Kitty Online, lots of interesting experiences, Blue Mars, etc. So we're always looking for tips of other worlds to develop in, and we are. I'm really stoked about the collaboration between myself and Gustavo and the Leonardo and Lumen team, and we're ready to do more work like this, and each one just gets better and better and better. And I can tell you that that it's an iterative process. Maybe the next one will be in another platform. Who knows?
I appreciate that recognition. It is iterative. We want it to be iterative because we want it to be living and dynamic. Can I just ask before we wrap up, Danielle, as our creative director for Leonardo, what creative inspiration did you derive from this experience? I understand you really were part of the process even as a judge earlier on and as an artist yourself. Can you share a bit about what has inspired you from this initiative? And then maybe we could come back to Carla to wrap up for us.
Sure. I've had the pleasure of being able to be one of the sub-jurors for the Lumen Prize for a few years, and one of the things that I really enjoy about it is almost all of the work, pretty much all the work that's submitted is excellent, and it's really sort of looking at excellence against excellence, and looking for really where those explorations, where those concepts are really driving towards, and to get to these 9 artists where their final exemplars of some of the best work that's being shown out there around the world. I think it was really important to share that in a really important way. One of the things that I wanted to connect into this process of finding a space to exhibit this work was not just to have something else being presented on Zoom, because we're all kind of zoomed out at this point in time, and exploring these virtual worlds which are not new, but are now really able to foster some of this way that digital born work can start to be reimagined and reformed. And this idea that building these pavilions with the artists, with their intentions of how they envision their work being shown in world, was really important. And it was really important to really exemplify the work that they have in them as artists. And I feel like that was successful in that, but also in looking at a really big question that has come up over and over again is, where does the development of technology platforms begin, and where do the artists come into those technology platforms? And in most cases, the artist comes in and there's sort of a bell curve around that. And most artists come in somewhere down the line where the technology has been developed, and then they ask, okay, artists and creators, can you make some content or artwork to meet this particular technology that we built? And in this particular case, this was an artist born platform that was made for artists by artists, and is still being developed for that. And so thinking about supporting emerging platforms that are built for this particular community to really show work in this space was really critical to some of the decisions that were being made on what platform to use. Because yes, there are other platforms out there, also very commercial, but in this case we were able to really work with the developers at the beginning to really envision this as like, what can we actually build together, versus like looking at a way that other content systems are created. So that was really critical. And then also bringing in the team, which included DC Spensley, who, if you look at his portfolio, has built worlds in almost every platform. So he's very familiar with this architecture. And then Gustavo Rincon from the Allosphere from UC Santa Barbara, who just finished his new media architecture PhD and looking at these synthetic worlds and virtual spaces. This seemed like a really important match to sort of look at where that navigation can really evolve and expand. And so I think supporting our creativity at all different levels was really important, and making sure that it was very artist driven was a goal for us as an organization.
Beautiful.
Synthetic space can be a real place if we're there together. And that's really the bottom line. We can humanize synthetic space and make it a place if we consider the viewer. Sorry to interject there. It's philosophical.
Carla?
I was just going to say that I particularly appreciated that I didn't have to download anything. I didn't have to buy a headset. I didn't have to send a password, log in. You know, it was there for me whenever I wanted it. And I'm in awe of what Gustavo and DC created. If anyone hasn't been in it, try the Cosmos Within Us room and just stand there and watch this event happen on your computer, on your screen. And you know, you brought worlds to life that we couldn't in this environment go out to see. And for me, it was personally exciting. And then it was amazing to send it to friends and say, click here and watch and get the reaction. And I'm not talking about people who are experts like the most of us in this call. I'm just talking about people who like art. And it has widened the audience for art. And that's why I'm here today. That's what I'm all about, is finding new audiences to engage with, to get these messages across subtly or not so subtly. But there are messages that artists need, as Diana said so eloquently in her opening remarks. We need art in these times. And these artists have messages, and you, DC, Gustavo, Danielle, Jack, you put these messages in a place where people can access them easily. Godspeed. And okay, this might be the first iteration of it, but when we come back in a couple of years, we'll look at how pioneering this was, and we will be proud. And those are my sentiments about what you've done. So, you know, Godspeed is all I can say.
I just wanted to jump in real quick. A lot of this work was inspired by some of the talks of Diana and Danielle with these coffee and cocktails after the pandemic. So, and we discussed, I think, every good scenario and disastrous scenario. I think for me, I heard a few talks from Diana, and she talked about compassion and technology and hope and taking personal responsibility. So for me, this was an opportunity to take, as a community member, the responsibility to try to move something forward with all the good intentions and the passion that I could give it. But without the leadership of both Carla and Diana and Danielle and Jack, then, you know, there's a lot of people that don't have hope. So for me, this exhibition was that. So thank you.
Well, this session gives me hope. And so we can come full circle and share that hope that our intention is followed up by action that is having positive impact that we are called to offer right now, today, and this week and next week and in the days to come in our world. So please enjoy and continue to immerse yourself and explore and experiment and respond. We are just beginning, and it's a privilege to do so together with you. I think that's it for me. So we're going to wrap up there.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.